Greetings, everybody. Maximus here with a big good news Boeing report. And since the good times have been few and far between for Boeing, I thought I'd share the good news with you. And while our top story can't exactly be deemed good news for Boeing, it is a sign that they are moving forward. However, it is bittersweet news for the family of whistleblower John Mitch Barnett. But they have formally announced that they have finally and completely settled a wrongful death lawsuit against Boeing that blamed Boeing for Barnett's death in March of 2024. U.S. District Judge Bruce Hendricks dismissed the case Monday. The court did not include any details about the resolution of the lawsuit, but said either party could reopen the case if a settlement isn't finalized within 60 days. Barnett's family sued Boeing in March, alleging the company was at fault for Barnett's self-removal, so to speak, a year earlier. On the day he died, Barnett was scheduled to testify in a deposition regarding allegations that he made years earlier that Boeing took intentional shortcuts while building planes. Police found a note beside his body that accused Boeing's leaders of ruining his life that read, "I hope Boeing pays." The wrongful death lawsuit filed by Barnett's family claims Boeing routinely batted down Barnett's complaints, and over time, the grueling and frustrating process of whistleblowing sapped Barnett emotionally. His family's lawyers contended that the struggle set Barnett on the path to his demise. In a statement Tuesday, Boeing said, "We are saddened by John Barnett's death and extend our condolences to his family." Boeing added that it took action several years ago to review and address about Boeing's safety and quality. Well, Qatar Airways is set to announce that it secured an agreement to purchase 150 aircraft from Boeing while President Trump is in Doha on Wednesday. Well, this news will probably be old by the time you get it, but late Wednesday, as President Trump continues his Middle East victory tour, he will travel from Saudi Arabia to Qatar in the early afternoon on Wednesday, May 13, where he will participate in a state dinner later that evening, where he is set to announce the massive Boeing wide-body deals. The Qatari deal for Boeing 787 and 777 wide-body jets will include an option to purchase more. However, as Bloomberg put it, it aligns with the Trump administration's push for nations such as Qatar to invest in U.S. manufacturing. Boeing told News Nation it would not confirm the deal, and Qatar Airways did not respond to a request for comment on the announcement. A White House official told News Nation they won't get ahead of any announcements from the president. But like I said, he's scheduled to announce it on Wednesday, today, so you probably already heard that story. And there's some more good news for Boeing, this time on the plane delivery front. On Tuesday, May 13, Boeing announced that it had delivered 45 commercial jets in April. That's nearly twice the 24 planes it delivered during the same month last year. The April deliveries included 2 jets for Chinese airlines before Beijing directed airlines to stop taking deliveries of Boeing airplanes amid the trade war between China and the U.S. Boeing delivered 4 more jets last month than the 41 it delivered in March. It delivered a 777 freighter to CES Leasing Corp., which is owned by China Eastern Airlines' parent company, and a 737 MAX to China Southern. When U.S. President Donald Trump announced stiff tariffs against China in April, 4 737 MAX aircraft were at Boeing's finishing center in Sichuan, China, where it installs interiors, paints on liveries, and does other work before delivering the aircraft. After China stopped taking deliveries, the planes flew back to Seattle, where they are currently parked at Moses Lake in central Washington. But not for long, because they'll be headed back to China soon, and I'll get to that in a minute. But Boeing CEO Kelly Ortberg said during the company's quarterly earnings call last month that it had planned to deliver about 50 aircraft to customers this year in China. Orders from Chinese carriers represent about 10% of Boeing's commercial backlog. Boeing's delivered 29 737 MAX planes, including 8 for United Airlines, 5 for Ryanair, and 5 for Southwest Airlines. The company also delivered 8 787s, 4 777 freighters, and 3 767s. April was the 4th consecutive month in which Boeing delivered more than 40 jets. The company has been focused on stabilizing the production rate of its best-selling 737 MAX, which was hamstrung by quality problems in 2024. Though the first 4 months of the year, Boeing has delivered 175 aircraft, including 133 737 MAX, 21 787s, and 11 777 freighters. Boeing also booked 8 gross new orders last month, one more than it recorded in April of 2024. All orders were for 737 MAX jetliners by unidentified customers. It had no cancellations or conversions. 32 orders placed earlier were added to the company's firm order book. They previously were not included due to the U.S. accounting rules. As of April 30, the plane maker had booked 249 gross orders and 212 net orders after cancellations and conversions. It had 6,282 unfilled orders, and its official backlog was 5,643 orders after adjusting for accounting. Well, now that U.S. President Trump and China's President Xi have buried the hatchet and the tariff war seems to have calmed down. And more good news for Boeing following a breakthrough in trade talks with the U.S. China has removed a ban on airlines taking delivery of Boeing planes. Officials in Beijing have started to tell domestic carriers and government agencies this week that deliveries of U.S.-made aircraft can resume. Discretion has been given to airlines to organize deliveries on their own timing and terms. The resumption of deliveries to China will be an immediate boost to Boeing. The thawing comes as the world's two biggest economies agreed to a tariff truce, with the U.S. lowering its combined 145% levies on most Chinese imports to 30% for 90 days. China agreed to slash its 125% tariffs on U.S. goods to 10% and remove other countermeasures taken against the U.S. since April 2nd. However, the restoration of jet deliveries could be short-lived if the tariff war isn't resolved during the 3-month reprieve. And finally, last week, airline conglomerate IAG, the parent company of British Airlines among others, announced its biggest order yet for wide-body jets, doubling down on long-haul demand with a $10 billion fleet investment that aims to help sustain its earnings momentum. The company is buying 32 Boeing 787 aircraft for British Airways and 21 Airbus A330neos for its Aer Lingus and Iberia level brands. There is also a top-up option for as many as 10 additional 787s and up to 13 additional neos. IAG also disclosed the previous purchase of planes that it had placed in March. The company said the new order comes on top of previous wide-body deals placed a few weeks ago, which it can only disclose now, they said. The deal includes 6 each of the Boeing 777-9, the Airbus A350-1000, and the smaller A350-900, bringing the new wide-body commitment to 71 units. The airline group said that the majority of new orders will be to replace existing aircraft such as BA's older 777s, while some will be used to grow in its main markets. IAG didn't disclose a value for the deal, but on estimates from Ishka Global, which tracks aircraft valuations, the deal has a volume of about $9.9 billion. IAG, which has about 600 aircraft, has 240 jets in its order book, of which 2/3 are replacements of older, less efficient aircraft. So how about that? Old Maximus, the so-called Boeing hater, is here to bring you the good Boeing news. And indeed, it looks like Boeing, under its new leadership of Kelly Ortberg, they finally have turned a corner and is hopefully leaving defects, death, and misery in the rearview mirror. Well, let's sure hope so. Well, that's all I have for now. But before you go, I need to know what you think about the good Boeing news. However, I won't know until you let me know down below. And until next time, as always, this is Maximus.